This is the Existential Crisis Iceberg, and it gets pretty in-depth, so let's just get right into it. The first tier, growing up Christian / Jewish / Islamic. The religious dimension of life represents an important source of human strength, meaning, and coping for many people. It may contribute to comfort and security, and be beneficial for mental health. In a Christian context, an existential crisis might manifest as doubts about the existence of God, the nature of salvation, and the meaning of suffering for individuals. In the Jewish framework, an existential crisis might involve questioning the covenant with God, the significance of cultural traditions, and the historical narratives that shape identity. This could lead to reflections on the complexities of faith in a rapidly changing world. In an Islamic context, an existential crisis might encompass introspection on the pillars of faith, the purpose of religious obligations, and their interpretation of the Quran. Individuals might grapple with reconsidering their spiritual beliefs, with the diverse cultural and societal landscapes they encounter, as well as questions about destiny and free will. The relationship of religion and religious coping to mental health has long been an issue of the social scientific interest. Both sociologists and psychologists tackled the topic following different trajectories. One trajectory centered on the importance of the structural aspects of religion, such as denomination, level of involvement and commitment, local congregations, and cultural frameworks. The science of religion and spirituality can bring fresh concepts and measures to better capture ineffable experiences that seekers and believers might characterize as divine, sacred, or spirit-filled. Being atheistic, an atheist believes that there is no God, no afterlife, and that everything we experience can be explained by science. There was no creation, and every single religious belief is incorrect. One thing that's interesting about being an atheist is that you have to come to terms with the fact that after you die, there is nothing. There is no heaven, no hell, no afterlife. Once you die, that's it. This can sometimes cause an existential crisis. Our small little brains usually have a tough time coping with the idea that there's nothing on the other side. However, for the most part, atheists seem to be able to handle this idea. Maybe some can't though. Some people don't believe in God, but also can't wrap their heads around the idea of not existing. Having financial struggles, like any source of overwhelming stress, financial problems can take a huge toll on your mental and physical health, your relationships, and your overall quality of life. Feeling beaten down by money worries can adversely impact your sleep, self-esteem, and energy levels. It can leave you feeling angry, ashamed, or fearful. It can fuel tension and arguments with those closest to you, increase pain and mood swings, and even increase your risk of depression and anxiety. You may resort to unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as drinking, abusing drugs, or gambling, to try to escape your worries. In the worst circumstances, financial stress can even cause some to take their own lives. But no matter how hopeless your situation seems, individuals might find themselves questioning whether their financial setbacks define their value as human beings. The pressure to meet basic needs and societal expectations can weigh heavily on oneself. However, an existential crisis triggered by financial struggles can also serve as an opportunity for reflection and growth. Exploring personal values beyond material wealth, seeking emotional support from friends and family, and identifying alternative sources of happiness can be essential first steps in navigating such a crisis. Whether or not you have a friend or loved one to talk to for emotional support, getting practical advice from an expert is always a good idea. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness, and it doesn't mean that you've somehow failed as a provider, parent, or spouse. It just means that you're wise enough to recognize that your financial situation is causing you stress and it needs addressing. First experiences with death. Being exposed to death for the first time, especially if it's someone that you love and care about deeply, can be an incredibly difficult experience. The intense sorrow that can come after losing somebody is something that everyone encounters at some point in their lives. We often experience guilt or regret after the death of a loved one, especially if there were unresolved issues, or if we believe our actions or decisions may have contributed to the outcome. This can lead to self-doubt and a lack of confidence in our decision-making abilities. The loss of a loved one can lead to a sense of loss of self, and thus a loss of confidence. Let's move on to the second tier: unexplained mysterious events. Nearly everyone has had weird experiences, things that happen in life that seem to defy any sort of rational explanation. It could be strange sightings, events that apparently change the law of nature, that evoke the supernatural, or feelings of being possessed by some kind of universal awe that elicits a connectedness with something grander. Mysterious events can be deeply transformative in multifaceted experiences when confronted with phenomena that challenge the boundaries of our understanding and rational explanations. Individuals often find themselves at a crossroads between what they know and what remains unknown. Unexplained mysterious events have the power to unsettle established beliefs, provoke contemplation, and foster a profound sense of curiosity. Are you enough? The next existential crisis may involve questioning whether external resources, including technology or even relationships, are enough to provide a sense of meaning and fulfillment in a world characterized by constant connectivity and technological advancements. Individuals may find themselves grappling with whether reliance on external factors of validation, entertainment, or connection truly satisfies their deeper emotional and existential needs. The concept of enoughness is an existential crisis that extends beyond material possessions and can encompass the quest for purpose, self-worth, and authentic fulfillment. People may question whether their achievements, relationships, or possessions are truly meaningful, or if they just merely serve as distractions from looking and eventually confronting deeper existential concerns. An existential crisis encourages introspection and self-discovery, prompting individuals to explore their values, passions, and activities that resonate with their true selves. It's an opportunity for individuals to reframe and evaluate what truly matters. Humans can't imagine dimensions of the universe. Experiencing an existential crisis related to the limitations of human imagination in comprehending the dimensions of the universe is a profound confrontation that raises question about the scope of human knowledge and the nature of reality. When considering the extensiveness and complexity of the universe, individuals might confront feelings of insignificance and humility in the face of the unknown. The concept of dimensions beyond this readily perspective challenges the boundaries of human cognition and highlights the limitation of our sensory experiences. Attempting to contextualize higher dimensions, or the intricacies of space and time, can evoke a sense of frustration and existential unease, as it becomes apparent that our minds are confined to interpreting a reality that may expand far past our own intuitive grasp. And I personally think about this subject all the time. If the universe even has dimensions, or if it's forever infinite, and there's infinite planets and infinite humans outpacing our scope of view. The stars you see are now long gone. Contemplating the phenomenon that the light from stars we observe might have originated from long ago, and those stars might no longer exist, can indeed lead to an existential crisis. This realization opens up a realm of thought about the nature of time, the importance of our universe, and our perception of reality. The concept that light we perceive from distant stars is essentially a glimpse into the past highlights the limitations of our human perception and the immensity of the cosmos. This can evoke feelings of awe and insignificance as we grapple with the idea that our universe's timeline extends far beyond our comprehension. The next existential crisis stemming from this notion may lead individuals to question the nature of existence itself. The contemplation of stars that have lived and died while their light still reaches us prompts reflections on the shortness of all things and the transitory nature of life. Navigating this existential crisis often involves a balance between confronting the enormity of the cosmos and finding meaning in the present moment. Engaging with astronomy, cosmology, and philosophical discussions can provide avenues for those exploring these thoughts further. Over 90% of the oceans are undiscovered. Understanding that over 90% of Earth's oceans remain unexplored can indeed trigger an existential crisis, prompting individuals to confront the magnitude of the unknown and limitations of human knowledge. The oceans, which cover a significant portion of our planet, have depths and regions that have yet to be fully explored and understood. Contemplating the enormity of our uncharted oceanic territory can lead to feelings of awe, curiosity, and a sense of humility in the face of the mysteries that lie beneath the waves. The fact that there are ecosystems, species, and phenomena lurking in the depths that remain beyond our current understanding can invoke a profound sense of wonder. An existential questioning prompted by the unexplored oceans can lead individuals to reflect on the broader context of human existence. Questions about the significance of our individual lives within the grand scope of the planet's mysteries may arise. People might also contemplate the connectedness of all life on Earth and the responsibility to protect and preserve our Earth's delicate ecosystems. Exploring the uncharted territories of the oceans, both literally and metaphorically, can offer a metaphor for the journey of self-discovery and the pursuit of knowledge. Let's move on to the third tier, suffering from derealization/depersonalization. Depersonalization/derealization disorder occurs when you always or often feel that you're seeing yourself from outside your body, or you sense that things around you are not real, or both of those things. Feelings of depersonalization and derealization can be very disturbing. You may feel like you're living in a dream. These experiences can lead to profound existential questioning as individuals grapple with the nature of reality, identity, and their place in the world. The sensation of detachment from oneself and the surroundings can invoke feelings of unreality and isolation. And depersonalization/derealization disorder can last for years. Sometimes it resolves on its own, but it might negatively impact your relationships or work life. With treatment, people commonly start to see an improvement in their symptoms within a few months. Complete recovery is possible for many people with depersonalization/derealization disorder, especially if the symptoms result from stresses that can be dealt with during treatment. Other people do not respond well to treatment, and the disorder becomes chronic. In some people, depersonalization/derealization disorder disappears on its own. Psychedelic drug experiences. Psychedelic drugs are popularly believed to provide unique insights into the nature of consciousness, despite a lack of empirical evidence. Psychedelics target specific centers of the brain to alter its understanding of sensory input. For instance, a person may be looking at a blank wall, but their hallucinating brain may interpret the blank wall as moving and swirling, and they might also be hearing noises that aren't actually there. Psychedelic experiences into one's everyday life, reflecting on the profound realizations and confronting the existential questions raised, can lead to personal growth and transformation. However, it's essential to approach all these experiences with caution and seek guidance if needed, as they can also be emotionally intense and potentially challenging to process. Growing up in cults. The training of children in cults differs from that of adults in that children are extremely vulnerable to adult influence. The people they look up to, especially their parents. Children's brains are still developing, and they're like sponges, absorbing the world around them. A child can absorb the worldview of those around them and the isolation they impose on their members. This isolation can limit exposure to outside perspectives, leading to a narrow worldview and a lack of critical thinking skills. As these individuals grow older and encounter different beliefs and ideas, they may begin to question the very foundation of their reality. In contrast to the first-generation cult member, the child who is born or raised in a cult has neither the previous personality nor a cohesively formed personality on which the new cultic personality is imposed. Aside from inherent temperament, basic character becomes affected and shaped by the child's reaction to the cult experience. Cults can leave a lasting imprint on a person's mindset. These changes can shape one's self-identity and understanding of reality, making it difficult to differentiate between personal beliefs and those imposed by the cult. Upon leaving such an environment, individuals may face a crisis of identity as they struggle to define their values and beliefs apart from the influence of the cult. The process of overcoming an existential crisis stemming from a cult upbringing involves a deep journey of self-discovery, being born in the wrong body. Gender dysphoria, a condition where an individual's gender doesn't align with their gender assigned at birth, can lead to a profound internal conflict, triggering questions about identity, authenticity, and one's place in society. Gender dysphoria can lead to feelings of distress, alienation, and a deep desire to reconcile one's internal sense of self with their external appearance. This crisis involves navigating social expectations, cultural norms, and personal authenticity. Being born in the wrong body might involve profound questioning of the concept itself. Individuals might grapple with whether their true identity lies in their physical appearance, their social roles, or their internal sense of gender. This introspection often leads to questions about societal constructs. 3 to 4 people died while you read this. 7.4 billion people, with an average life expectancy of 71.4 years, equals about 103 million deaths per year. This, divided by 365 days, 24 hours, and 3,600 seconds, comes up to 3.29 deaths per second. People are currently dying while you read this. Let's move on to the 4th tier. Humans wiped out 60% of all animals in the last 50 years. Nearly 21,000 monitored populations of mammals, fish, birds, reptiles, and amphibians, encompassing almost 4,400 species around the world, have declined an average of 68% between 1970 and 2016, according to the World Wildlife Fund's Living Planet report in 2020. Species in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as global freshwater habitats, were disproportionately impacted, declining on average 94 and 84% respectively. The report blames humans alone for the dire state of the planet. It points to the exponential growth of human consumption, population, global trade, and urbanization over the last 50 years as key reasons for the unprecedented decline of Earth's resources, which it says the planet is incapable of. Global warming won't be stopped in time. Humans have caused major climate changes to happen already, and we have set in motion more changes still. Given the scale and complexity of modern economies and the time required for new technologies to displace older ones, only a stunning technological breakthrough will allow for reductions in emissions that are sufficiently deep enough to stop climate change. Without a technological or economic miracle, it would take a political gift to reach an international agreement that would mandate the necessary emissions cuts to reverse the momentum behind our evolving global climate system. But once again, realities get in the way. Still, we do have some of the tools we will need already. International lenders, like the World Bank, have only begun to invest in projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. They need to give greater emphasis to projects that limit developing countries' vulnerabilities to climate change. The scientific community will need to do a much better job of predicting climate impacts at a regional and local scale. Governments will need to support this process. to collect and assess the information that results, and develop their own plans. Writing out the consequences of a warming world will be difficult, and we need to prepare now. Is it better to die before or after your loved ones? Death is a phase in life that no one looks forward to, but you can't avoid thinking of it anyway. Every movie, series, and song, no matter how captivating, comes to an end eventually. The good thing with them, however, is that we can relive the ecstatic experience of savoring them by replaying them countless times. But unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of pausing, rewinding, or fast-forwarding our lives at will. Why would I want to die before my spouse? So that I wouldn't be the one who has to live the latter years of my life all alone? Or so I would be the one to be missed and talked about to anyone who would listen? On the other hand, why would I prefer to be the last to go? So I would be the one missing my better half instead of being missed? For me, it's neither here nor there. People kill and torture animals while you read this. Animals, just like human beings, deserve a peaceful life. Animals are an important part of our ecosystem and are very useful to us. But we sometimes forget that they are also living creatures. We keep on harassing them, and these poor creatures can't even express their feelings and grief. We become cruel towards animals for two reasons. One, to fulfill our needs, and two, for fun. We use animals for their fur, their skin, their meat, their teeth, and horns too. Another industry that contributes to cruelty to animals is the cosmetic industry. Whenever we buy any cosmetic products, we always make sure that the product is safe on our skin, but we hardly realize that these products were tested on animals before it reaches us. The chemicals are often injected into animals' bodies or applied to their skin. Sometimes, these are tested on their eyes too, and if the test fails, it sometimes leads to the animal's death. These tests cause itching and burning, but we, as human beings, keep on torturing the animals for our own purposes. Humans will go extinct before other planets will be viable. Colonization implies some degree of self-sufficiency, but not necessarily complete independence from Earth. There's a huge difference between sending humans to Mars and colonizing worlds outside our solar system. The first step is water. Water that could be extracted from ice and minerals allow us to establish a colony on Mars. Sadom argues that water would enable agriculture and produce food on the planet, while hydrogen derived from ice could be used as an energy source for rocket propellant. Attempt to colonize space. Get everything you need to build a civilization into a spaceship. Get the spaceship going fast in the right direction. Have enough of what you need to build a civilization to survive during the voyage. Slow the spaceship down when you're getting close enough to your target location. And build a civilization at your target location. Sounds easy enough. Extended exposure to cosmic radiation damages DNA and might cause cancer or other negative health effects. Earth's atmosphere and/or magnetic field prevent these problems near Earth's surface. Cosmic radiation could also damage electronic equipment. Interstellar voyages could take decades, even at a significant fraction of the speed of light, and centuries or even millennia at more modest speeds. Therefore, it may be impossible to complete the trip within a human lifetime. What would you have done under the Nazi regime? If you were born in the 1920s, your education, your language, your appearance, and your outlook on the world would be drastically different. But a lot of people I've heard in the past say they would have stood up. Perhaps you would have been the Oskar Schindler and done the most selfless things humanly imaginable. But I'm going to interpret this entry as the fact that our upbringing dictates so much of our lives. And there's a reason why Schindler's story is so popular. It was so rare and so unique. He was the one in a million. What Schindler did was truly heroic, and it's because he tried to save the lives of innocent people that he was putting his own life, as well as other loved ones, in danger. Even so, if the circumstances are correct, something such as Nazism can happen. Perhaps we're slaves to the universe. Perhaps we have no free will. Perhaps our upbringing dictates our lives, and the choices we make are just chosen by that. Why are you? Biopsychology, also known as behavioral neuroscience, is a branch of psychology that looks at how the brain affects behavior. It studies various aspects of the brain, including its structure, components, and systems. Important parts of the brain and nervous system, including neurons and neurotransmitters, can affect mental functioning and well-being. The way our minds function has a lot to do with how we do things and how we normally act. Human behavior, brain function, and mental processes have been studied extensively. Things that happen to us in early adulthood stay with us long term. We have a preference for recalling experiences from adolescence and early adulthood, primarily due to the emotional intensity of this period, because of the number of choices and changes that occurred during this time. Choosing knowing how you die versus when you die. You and everyone you ever known will someday die. This uncomfortable truth constantly lurks in the back of our minds and ultimately drives everything we do in some way or fashion, from choosing to eat vegetables and go to the gym, to motivating us to have children, write books, and create companies. What would happen though if the ambiguity surrounding our own demise was taken away? What if we all suddenly were told the exact date and means of our deaths? We know about how death shapes behavior in the real world. Should everyone suddenly learn the exact date and means of their demise, society could, and likely would, become more racist, xenophobic, violent, warmongering, self-harming, and environmentally destructive than it already is. The more neurotic and anxious you are, the more preoccupied you will be with death and unable to focus on meaningful life changes. But on the other hand, if you're told you'll peacefully die at 90 in your sleep, then you might not be that motivated to engage with it either. Like, oh, that's fine, carry on. Whether life ends at 13 or 113, studies of terminally ill individuals can shed light on typical responses to death. Some care patients, Feutner says, often experience two phases of thinking. First, they question the very premise of their diagnosis, asking if death is definitely, imminently inescapable, or whether it is something they can fight. After that, they contemplate how to make the most of the time they have left. Most fall into one of two categories. They either decide to put their whole energy and focus into doing everything they can to beat the illness, or they opt to reflect on their lives and spend as much time as possible with loved ones doing things that bring them happiness. A similar process would likely play out under the hypothetical death date scenario. Even if you know you have 60 more years, eventually, that lifespan is going to be measured in just a couple years, months, and then just days. Those who go the route of accepting their death sentences may likewise react in a variety of ways. Some would be energized to make the most of the time they have, rising to greater heights of creative, social, scientific, and entrepreneurial achievement than otherwise would have been possible. What I'd like to think is that knowing our death date would bring out the best in us, that it would give us the psychological latitude to be able to do more for ourselves and for our families and communities. Not everyone would become their best selves, however. Instead, many people would probably choose to check out of life and cease to contribute meaningfully to society, not necessarily because they're lazy, but because they're overtaken by a feeling of pointlessness. Is every human really equal in regards to murderers, bad people, etc.? Equity leads to equality, which subsequently produces justice. The most accepted socially constructed definition of equality implies that all people are created equal and should be treated the same. Concepts like human rights, social justice, and inclusivity, which guide many societal norms and legal frameworks, however, really complicate this notion. When considering individuals have committed heinous crimes such as murder or other inexplicable acts. The concept of equality can be common, settling how society can reconcile the idea of equal worth with actions of some individuals. This is where the ethical and moral dimensions of the question come into play. One viewpoint acknowledges that every human individual may have equal inherent worth. Their actions and choices can certainly differentiate them in terms of accountability and consequences. Researching Broca's basilisk. Broca's basilisk exists at the horizon where philosophical thought experiment blurs into urban legend. The basilisk made its first appearance on the discussion board Less Wrong, a gathering point for highly analytical sorts interested in optimizing their thinking, their lives, and the world through mathematics and rationality. Less Wrong's founder, Eliezer Yudkowsky, is a significant figure in techno-futurism. His research institute, the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, which funds and promotes research around the advancement of artificial intelligence, has been boosted and funded by high-profile techies like Peter Thiel and Ray Kurzweil, and Yudkowsky is a prominent contributor to academic discussions of technological ethics and decision theory. This AI could simulate the past and identify individuals who hindered its development or failed to help bring it into existence. It suggested that the basilisk could then subject these non-helpers to a form of digital torture or punishment, thus creating a paradoxical incentive for individuals to aid in its creation out of fear of consequences. The Less Wrong community is concerned with the future of humanity, and in particular, with the singularity, the hypothesized future point at which computing power becomes so great that superhuman artificial intelligence becomes impossible, as does the capability to simulate human minds, upload minds to computers, and more or less allow a computer to simulate life itself. Multiverse simulation theory. The multiverse theory persists that our universe is just one of many universes that exist within a larger multiverse. These universes might have different physical constants, laws of physics, and even different fundamental practices. The idea stems from the notion that the conditions that gave rise to our universe's existence might not be unique, and there could be other regions of space and time with their own unique properties. There are several variations of the multiverse theory. Simulation theory says that we are all likely living in an extremely powerful computer program, directed by an entity outside of our physical comprehension. In this situation, humans are not necessarily real, intangible beings, but instead predetermined, coded constructs of the digital world we inhabit. Living in a simulation can be likened to living in a gigantic game of The Sims, except we ourselves are the characters inside the screen. While it's a fascinating idea, there's currently no definitive way to disprove it. However, many scientists and philosophers argue that even if we were in a simulation, the reality we experience would still be meaningful to us. S attempts. S remains a leading cause of death worldwide. A key reason for limited progress is inadequate understanding about the transition from S thoughts to S attempts. This knowledge is important because the majority of instances of S thoughts do not lead to S attempts. A World Health Organization study found that approximately 2/3 of individuals with S thoughts never make a S attempt, and a population-based study found that only 7% of individuals with S thoughts attempted S during the subsequent 2 years. Psychiatric disorders that prevent S thoughts only weakly or negligibly predict progression from thoughts to attempts. Variables such as depression and hopelessness show strong correlation of S thoughts, but are weakly associated with attempts, among other factors. Historically, different theories of S emphasize different factors such as social isolation, psychological pain, and hopelessness. These theories have been extremely beneficial for guiding research and providing a foundation that informs contemporary theories. At the same time, traditional theories share a common limitation. They tend to treat S as a single phenomenon in a need of a single explanation. Ego death. Ego death is a term that originated a long time ago in ancient traditional spiritualism, used to describe the collapse of the conceptual made mind self, which he would call the ego, the personality, or the separate self so that a rebirth can happen. This is the death or the false self so that the true self can be born. In the New Age movement, ego death is now called the dark night of the soul. The concept of the dark night of the soul was first coined in a poem by Saint John of the Cross, a 16th century Spanish mystic and poet. Ego death and dark night of the soul are terms used to describe the death of the ego process. During ego death, you feel this deep sense of meaninglessness and loss of purpose. Everything around you seems to have no meaning. Life is completely meaningless, with no point in living. You don't know who you are anymore, and you are filled with this sense of emptiness. Of course, that's a figure of speech when I say life is meaningless. What's going on here is life is not actually losing meaning because you are life itself. What's actually losing meaning is the perceived life that the mind or your ego has constructed or given significant meaning during its course. I'm talking about all your beliefs, your name, what's considered important, your perceptions, where you're going, your achievements, and your history. Ego death is often interpreted as a transformative process that leads to personal growth. Find purpose in their lives grounded in the present moment. Challenging the belief in heaven and hell often marks a profound shift in one's spiritual or philosophical journey. As individuals question the traditional constructs of an afterlife, they embark on a journey of self-discovery and exploration of alternative belief systems. This period of questioning is characterized by deep introspection, challenging long-held assumptions, and reevaluating personal values. Some may find solace and purpose in grounding themselves in the present moment, emphasizing mindfulness and the richness of their immediate experiences. The search for meaning becomes a dynamic, ongoing process, leading to a more authentic alignment with individual values and a sense of fulfillment derived from the present. Everyone and everything around you just exists in your mind. Solipsism. Solipsism, a philosophical theory that presents the self as the only certain existence, dives into the complex nature of human consciousness and the challenges of understanding the minds of others. It introduces a profound sense of uncertainty, where individuals grapple with the limits of their knowledge about the subjective experiences of those around them. The solipsism problem, extending beyond a mere intellectual dilemma, touches on the emotional terrain of human connection. It emerges as a response to the inherent solitude experienced when trying to comprehend the subjective worlds of others, fostering a sense of isolation, even in the midst of social interactions. This emotional dimension adds depth to the philosophical exploration of solipsism, highlighting its impact on human relationships and the quest for genuine understanding. You could be God without knowing. The concept of humans embodying godlike attributes and energies has roots in various cultural and philosophical traditions. Mind transition research suggests that individuals possess innate gifts bestowed by a higher power, such as talents, instincts, and reasoning abilities. These gifts, often overlooked in modern society, form the basis of the God-man configuration. Drawing parallels with ancient mythologies, the Greeks' portrayal of god-men, like Hercules, illustrates the belief in humans channeling divine qualities for the greater good. Similarly, the Chinese tradition emphasizes the mastery of godlike energies to control fundamental elements. This interconnectedness between humanity and divinity reflects a shared essence with the creator. Despite this potential, the narrative laments that human human beings frequently overlook their innate powers, which, if recognized and harnessed collectively, could contribute to the betterment of both nature and society. The passage underscores the idea that humanity, in its pursuit of self-awareness and understanding, has the latent capacity to manifest divine attributes for the greater good. Thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. We currently have a whopping 0 subscribers.